Joining me, everyone. Chuck Moscowitz here. Welcome to the program. My guest is Jason Van Camp. Jason is a decorated Green Beret who attended and played football at West Point before earning his U.S. Army Ranger tab and Special Forces tab. He's the author of Deliberate Discomfort, How U.S. Special Operations Forces Overcome Fear and Dare to Win by Getting Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. Jason, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, you're the perfect guest right now because of the virtual chaos that we're all going through. As many of us, in fact, most of us, especially in the where I am in Boston and in New York, are off the streets, are holed up at home. And in my case, I have a spouse who's very nervous and is walking around the house spraying everything with antiseptic and putting wipes and you name it. I mean, it's just, so I'm glad to have you here to talk about how we should deal with this kind of chaos and what's the best way to stay safe and yet function, get through life, go out, do whatever.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. This is an interesting time we're living in. For some people, it's scary. And for others, it's very, very exciting, and that's just kind of the way it is right now. So you got to choose which group are you in,
Well, I mean, I would say that I lean toward the excitement part, but at the same time, I don't want to catch this thing. I mean, it's very contagious. So I want to take necessary precautions. How do you balance it? I mean, talk a little bit about what you're doing and your family and how you're coping. Are you where are you anyway?
So I am from Virginia, but I live in Utah right now. My wife is from Utah. So when we got married, we compromised and ended up in Utah. And I don't mind that because Utah is a pretty cool spot to live,
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's cold. There's no humidity, mountains up the road. And so I got married in 2015 and we have two kids. We have a young daughter, Claire Jane. She's 3 years old. She just turned 3. And I have a son who's 9 months old, Jack. That's my family.
Nice. And are there precautions being taken in Utah? You haven't been told to shelter in place, I imagine.
No, not yet. But people are losing their jobs and they're losing their minds in a way. It's a very scary time for a lot of individuals. And we're taking it very seriously as a family. And I think most of the people in Utah are also taking it very, very seriously.
Well, what do you suggest? I mean, in a situation, because you obviously you're a Green Beret, you know how to deal with real adversarial situations. That's what you're trained to do. How does an average family deal with this when, in our case, someone that's very close to us has been diagnosed with this virus? She's fine, thank God. Oh, yeah, but she's fine. She's just in the quarantine period and finishing the quarantine period and no symptoms at this point. So, we're expecting to bring her back here, and yet at the same time, we're nervous about being exposed because we're both older. I mean, I'm quite a bit older than you, as you might notice. I mean, we're like, at the age where we're a little bit more concerned about being exposed. And a younger person, they may have the thing, but they may not know they have it, and they're walking around with it, and they feel fine, but, they can expose someone else. And it's very contagious. Apparently, Vice President Pence says that this is 3 times as contagious as a regular flu. So, how do you proceed with that? I mean, I'm just sort of asking myself.
Well, I would say that, oh, sorry, we got some feedback there. Simplify, simplify. If you have shelter, if you have food, if you have water, if you have people that love you and that you love and you surround yourself with those people, then that's really all you need. You'll be okay. And so by simplifying things, like what I'm saying is don't panic, like remain optimistic. Things will be okay. We have very smart people, working around the clock to figure this out. If you look at the numbers, only 1,000 people have died because of the virus, But if you start to feed yourself those negative stories and, only X amount of people have actually died or contracted it. Well, then, the hospitals are filling up and people that have heart attacks and brain aneurysms and cancer, and there's no beds for them. And then what are we going to do? You know what? you got other things to worry about. You got other things to think about. Like think about your family, think about the people to your left and to your right. Take care of them, make sure they're okay. And by giving, you'll find they'll be very, very successful.
So, I think that we watch the mainstream 6 o'clock news,
Yeah.
and it's very alarming because they show it. And I don't know if they're trying to be alarming or what, but they show videos of what's going on inside the hospitals in New York, particularly, which we're near, and also in Italy and in Spain. And it looks horrifying. I mean, you think that if you catch this thing, the main deal is to keep strong and not have to go to the hospital, because it does not look good if you end up having to go to one of these places.
Yeah, well, I think it affects everyone differently. I don't know anyone personally that has contracted the virus, but I know people like basically through friends, friends of friends that have had the disease, and I've asked really in-depth questions about what it's like. And for some, like, it just kind of felt like I had a headache, I had some trouble breathing, it was no big deal. And for others, they're like, I couldn't breathe, I had to check myself into the hospital, it was one of the scariest things in my life, like that sort of thing. So you don't know what to expect. Your body's going to handle it differently. And I guess the only thing you can tell yourself is, through your own personal experiences, how have you dealt with diseases and viruses in the past? Has it really knocked you out and like put you bedridden, or have you been able to overcome it pretty quickly? For me, I've been in the military for such a long time. We got so many shots. I feel like, I'm immune to a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I did catch malaria before.
You did.
And then that was a really tough deal. It was, I powered through it though. I actually went to class with malaria, and I was delirious sort of, and really headache. My head was pounding. I felt nauseous. I hadn't had an appetite. I didn't really eat. And eventually I checked myself in the hospital for a couple of days, and I had 107-degree fever, and they thought I had SARS, and SARS was really big at the time when I got this, when I got malaria. It was in 2003 when this happened. And, that just gives me confidence that if I contracted malaria and I was able to go to class, and, if something else happens to me, I'll be okay. And I think that other people should take that same mindset, feed themselves positive stories, think to themselves, hey, listen, I've overcome more difficult things than this, more difficult challenges than this in my life, and I'm going to overcome this one too.
I also think that in my case and in a lot of people's cases, I'm doing things that I think, at least maybe it's a placebo, but it makes me feel like at least I'm in control by taking a lot of supplements, including the STEM Enhance, which is good for people over the 60, 59, 58 plus. It's a natural supplement that has natural stem cells in it, and STEM Enhance Ultra, that is from Cerule. Not to get in a shameless plug, but it's available on my website, which is charlesmoscowitz.com. I take a good dose of that every day and have been doing so from the beginning. And I can't say for sure, but I feel very good, and I think it strengthens my immune system. And there are other things you can do to strengthen your immune system. I take a mega dose of vitamin C and other things that I do. So, there are some things I think, and plus the other thing is, as you say quite accurately, Jason, you have to keep a positive mindset. Don't get too bogged up in these really nasty stories that are circulating, and just, try to maintain control of your own environment as best you can.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You touched on it. It's a mindset, a positive mindset. And it's funny how your positivity can repel, all the negativity, even like real diseases and viruses. And even if it's a placebo, like whatever works for you, whatever makes you happy, whatever keeps you optimistic. And, that's something that I would encourage everyone to pursue.
Right. And also, the other lesson I hope that people can take from this, and even now, especially now, but also when it's over, is that it's a good idea to do prep, to be prepared for survival for 4 to 6 weeks, And to be prepared in advance. This is something that Americans used to do as a matter of routine. Now we've kind of forgotten about that, but you should have provisions that will ensure that you can survive on your own for 4 to 6 weeks, especially if you're in a city or in an urban environment. I mean, I myself and my wife, we did this long before the real thing hit, and that we were the restrictions because we could see it coming. So we suspected it was coming, and people criticized us for it at the time. But so be it. We now are sitting nice. We have everything we could need, and we have it all set up, and we're living in a little paradise here, and not worrying too much. Although, at some point, depending on how long the thing goes, you have to go out and replenish. But the lesson here is that it's a good idea to be self-sufficient, to take care of yourself and your family for any eventuality that might come down the pipe.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for a lot of folks that haven't done that before. In my church, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, a Mormon church, and they really promote self-reliance and food storage. It's a big component of the culture. And so, and be prepared. I'm an Eagle Scout, so it's kind of been ingrained in me since I was a little kid, to be prepared for all that. So I would encourage folks to have food storage, certainly water for 3 months, water purifying kits, and then something to defend yourself and protect yourself. So weapons, sort of thing, fire starting kits. And then, I have a big medic bag. Not a shameless plug as well. My medic has some great medical bags, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, nor do I sell them on my website, but they've got some great stuff. My friend Jeff Kirkham here in Utah, he has a company called Ready Man, and he sells a lot of material that you can use to prepare yourself in the event that you need to survive or the zombie apocalypse occurs.
Absolutely. We would have laughed at this a month ago, but now people aren't laughing so much. We don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know what's going to come down the pike. Maybe a month from now, it could get worse. So, yes, have these things. I mean, I saw something advertised that I'm very tempted to buy, and that is like not a hazmat suit, but it's a full head to foot suit with goggles and a face mask that's very high quality and gloves. And I'm thinking of getting it only because I want to get out again, and I want to drive, and I want to go places, and I don't want to worry. Am I being too reactionary to think about getting that?
Whatever makes sense for you and whatever gives you confidence, pursue it. I know a lot of folks that have hazmat suits and the protective masks. In the military, we called it our MOP gear. We had to prepare for chemical warfare. So we'd practice drills out in the field, in training and so forth. We had to don all of our gear and our pro mask, our protective mask. So, I don't have that gear. I don't think that if it gets to the point where I need that sort of stuff, like we're in real trouble, but if that makes you happy, then I would absolutely go for it.
Now, what do you think is an appropriate role for the military in the pandemic right now in this country, if any?
Well, I'll tell you, military right now, they're cutting back on training. They're self-quarantining. They're shuttering recruiting stations. And from what I understand, like more than 300,000 cases of the coronavirus have now been confirmed globally, right? So that's an increase of about 30,000 or so from last Saturday. And, when you really look at the numbers, only 124 service members, including their families and civilian workers, have contracted the disease as of last week. And they're promoting social distancing, and the military is very agile. They really are. And so I think that the military is just kind of waiting this thing out. They're getting ready to go. They're taking it seriously. And if we needed them, we would have them in a heartbeat.
Well, that's good to know. Jason, talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about your book and the thesis of the book.
Deliberate Discomfort is the title of my book. The subtitle is How U.S. Special Operations Forces Overcome Fear and Dare to Win by Getting Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. And the book is so timely right now with the coronavirus. The book is needed now more than ever.
Yes.
The book is about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is the new normal, right now. Like this is our normal
Hmm.
at the moment. And if you're sitting at home, binge watching Netflix and playing video games, that's the wrong answer. If you're improving, you're getting stronger, you're improvising, you're trying to figure out what to do next. That's the answer that I'm looking for. I'll
Okay.
give you an example. I met with one of my big clients about 3 weeks ago, and they postponed our contract. It was a big contract for 2020, and they said, you know what, we're sending all of our employees home, and we don't know what's going to happen with this. We're scared. We don't know what's going to happen. What do you think, Jason? And I said, well, I don't think you're going to lose your business. As a matter of fact, I think the opposite. I think that what you're going to find after about a month of your employees working remotely is that you haven't skipped a beat. I think you're going to find that your product went out the door. You're going to have made just as much money as you made the month before. Your customers are going to be happy. And they were like, well, why do you think that? And I said, it kind of reminds me of World War I, when typically all the men had jobs. Historically, women didn't work and men had to go to combat. And the job still needed to be performed. And so women stepped up and did the work. And we realized pretty quickly as a society that women could do a job just as well as a man can. And men got back from combat and they didn't have jobs to come back to. Society has shifted completely. And I feel like that's what's going to happen now with this coronavirus. I think that businesses are going to find out that, you know what, we don't need office spaces. We don't need to require our employees to come into work every day. We can have them work remotely. And the millennials have been trying to push this down our throats for the last 10 years, but we just haven't accepted it. And now it's given us that uncomfortable scenario where we sort of need to accept it. And I feel like there's going to be a dramatic shift in how businesses are run, and by August, September 2020. I think a lot of businesses are going to, go in a different direction and stop renting office space. I feel like private equity companies are going to look at their portfolio companies and they're going to say, hey, itemize a list of all of our business expenditures. Show me what isn't relevant to the bottom line. And at the top of the list is going to be rent. And the private equity companies are going to say, hey, you made just as much money not paying rent or having that rent on hold than you did with it. So get rid of it. And so you're going to go up and down the highway and you're going to see empty office spaces. Commercial real estate is really going to be struggling to find people to take space. I think it's going to be a dramatic shift in how business is done. You're going to see a lot more remote training, online training. You're going to see, remote meetings as the norm. You're going to have to, figure out how to do a lot more homeschooling with your kids and doing daycare from home. But, and then the next step is, how are people going to react to being socially isolated or socially distant? Like, how is our society going to react to that? All interesting questions and all things I've been thinking about.
Interesting. No, great thoughts. I mean, this is, in a way, it makes me think that due to the crisis and the reaction to it, because there's going to be, it's almost like we're going back to the days of the early republic when America was an agrarian nation primarily, and that people were self-employed, they were local, they had their local business, whether it be a farm or a local factory or like a local manufacturing, and that because of the internet, we can all, we're going to be much more self-sufficient. We're going to be more, maybe there'll be more self-employed people, more independent contracting, more people, in a way it frees you because you could work 24 hours, you can work anytime you want. You can wake up at 2 a.m. and do some work. It's sort of like, it just becomes an integral part of your life. You don't have to like punch a time clock every day and go in and, put on a seersucker suit and sit, in a cubicle. Everything can be done, and, you have your kids there, and it's kind of I think, a very positive side to this socially, that the society will shift in that direction. Very interesting. Really, really good insight. Very, very good.
So that's what I talk about in my book. It's discomfort. Yeah. It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. It's a growth mindset. It's figuring out a better way, a better path, a better solution, to accomplish the mission. And, there's a lot of hysteria and fear right now. It's chaos. People are feeling disorganized. But this is the time when you need to step up as a leader and actually lead. Don't leave your people in isolation. Continue with accepting voluntarily, intentionally, deliberately accepting and embracing discomfort. And the book is, we're really proud of it. It's been out for a month. You can buy it on Amazon or wherever books are sold. You can go to our partner, veteran-owned and operated Nine Line Apparel. You can get the book with a limited edition T-shirt in a bundle package. It's a great, great deal. We've sold 17,000 books so far in the last month.
Wow.
And that has turned us into an Amazon #1 bestseller. We're trying to make a couple other bestseller lists. We're working really hard at that. And, people love the book. Reviews are amazing. And so I encourage anyone who wants to know how to overcome this new normal and figure out what to do with their life and succeed to pick up a copy of Deliberate Discomfort immediately.
Excellent. Good. I'll put a link up to it on the show. And I know you've already done it, Jason, but just again, for my listeners and viewers, mention where people can get your book or any other information about yourself that you'd like to give out.
Sure. So I'm Jason Van Camp. I'm the chairman of Mission 60. You can find us on mission60.com. I'm also the executive director of 501c3 nonprofit called Warrior Rising. We help veterans the most altruistic way we know how. We help them help themselves. And we do that by providing opportunities to create businesses or accelerate businesses. I live in Utah with my wife, Lizzie, and my 2 kids, Claire Jane and Jack. I wrote a book called Deliberate Discomfort, How U.S. Special Operations Forces Overcome Fear and Dare to Win by Getting Comfortable, Being Uncomfortable. And you can find that on Amazon right now, wherever books are sold, or you go to veteran-owned and operated Nine Line Apparel to get the book with a limited edition T-shirt in a bundle package.
Well, Jason Van Camp, I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank you for your service to this country. And I hope to be in touch with you and from time to time to keep up on what you're up to.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your time. It's been a blast.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.